The topic of this training session is parametric items. We'll cover what a parametric item is and how it's used in the estimation module of the AASHTOWare project software. So what is a parametric item? Parametric item represents a group of similar detail or pay items that are generally used for a certain type of work. These parametric items have a group of detail or pay items. An example of a couple parametric items that have been created are traffic control, grading, erosion control, and concrete pavement repair. The items in a parametric item don't have exact known quantities based on like a unit of measure of every mile. So if we had a mile of roadway work, we wouldn't necessarily know how many type 2 barricades or type 3 barricades that would be needed for that mile of work. It would vary based on the location in the project and even from project to project. But we might know based on previous analysis that typically traffic control consists of a certain percentage of our total cost, or for every mile, it's approximately so many dollars. So that's how we utilize parametric items. Parametric items are associated with transition profiles. These transition profiles contain all the items that would be related to that type of work. So for like our erosion control parametric item, some items that you would see in that transition profile would be seeding type A, cover crop, erosion control class 1D, 2A, silt fence, checks, mulch, and the temporary ones too. For grading, the items associated with that type of parametric item would be clearing and grubbing, excavation, water, roadway grading, topsoil. The traffic control one, you'd have your barricade, signs, flagging, furnishing, sign days by the contractor, flashing arrow panel, and then remove sign, type A sign. Now, some or all, mostly only some of the items that will be incorporated in the transition profile will be used. What this does is allows the user, when they add the parametric item to their cost estimate, is establish a price based on either, well, every mile will have $10,000 in grading costs, but we don't know exactly how much excavation and water and earthwork measured in embankment will have. Or for every mile of work, our erosion control is 20% of our total cost estimate, but we don't know the exact quantities of all those items that we'll need, or even which items we might need. When those quantities are established later down in the design process, the user can go through a transition process and pick the applicable items needed and add those items to the cost estimate. Once they're added to the cost estimate, then they can add in the quantities and generate bid-based pricing. This is quicker than adding each item individually, and it allows you to get an upfront cost earlier in the design process rather than trying to guess at how many acres of type A seeding you would need. So how does this look in the software? So here on our cost estimate, just some basic information on the front screen here. We go to cost estimate items. You can see we have a list of some other items that are being used on this project. To add a new item, there's a couple ways. You can hit the new button or the blue drop down. You can click that and then select items. We'll just hit the new button for now. All the parametric items start with PAR and dash. So if you type that in your search box under item, it'll return the parametric items. So we want to add our erosion control. It's this quantity. It's like a lump sum. So you can see it's 50% of our grading cost. Once we've added that in there, you can scroll to the top and hit save. Once it's finished saving, it'll return you to the item you just added. And then we can enter in our unit price. So if we know our total grading cost is $100,000, erosion control will be half of that. So we can enter $50,000 in there. Once we have our price entered, we can hit save. So now that in an early design process, we don't know the exact quantities or even what exact items we would need for erosion control, we'd have a way to account for an approximate cost that we will have on our project for erosion control. So later in the design process, once we know what our quantities and which items we'll need for erosion control, how do we get those items into our cost estimate so that we can enter in and establish quantities for those items and return bid-based pricing? On the parametric item row, if you click the drop-down arrow, you can click down here under Task, transition parametric items to detail items. You'll be presented with this pop-up window, and here's all the commonly used items for erosion control. It's a pick list, so you can just select the ones that you would need. If you accidentally hit one that you don't need, just click on it again. The green check marks on the left here indicate which ones you've selected. So we'll add in seating type A. We'll have temporary seating, erosion control class 1B, a 2A. We'll have silt fence low and high porosity. We'll have a temporary silt check type 1, temporary silt fence, temporary earth check, and we'll have some mulch on our project. So once you've made the appropriate selection, down in the lower right, there's the gray button that says Add to Cost Estimate. Click that. So when that process is finished, it'll open up an item for you. We'll go ahead and collapse that. If you noticed, when it came in at the top, you'll get the little warning box that says no quantities have been entered. That's normal. The transition profiles are set up that way so that they don't bring in incorrect quantity. It's an indication to the user that, hey, you have to enter a quantity for these items. So you can hit X there and close that out. Another view for cost estimate items that will make it a little quicker to enter the quantities for these is this item pricing worksheet. We click the quick link at the top there. And scroll down. Here's all those items that we picked in that modal window. So you can see there's no quantities there. Click on the box, it says quantity, double click. We can enter, and then that will have 1.8 acres, temporary seating, our erosion control, 250 square yards. Same with that one. You just enter in the appropriate quantities. fit. So once you have all your quantities entered for those items related to erosion control, you can scroll to the top and hit Save. So now we have the detail or pay items that will be used on the project for erosion control in our cost estimate. You can see over here on our parametric item, it's now set to inactive, and all these items that we transitioned in are active. So when we go to build our project and proposal, this parametric item won't be brought in, so the contractor will never see it at bid time. They'll only see these detail items that we added as a result of that upfront parametric item we used to calculate an initial cost. So as you can see, parametric items are a useful tool to account for cost of certain types of work where quantities and even specific detail items aren't known up front. We can account for that type of work through a parametric item by establishing either a cost as a percentage of our total cost estimate, or another type of work, or even a certain dollar amount per mile of work. Thanks for joining us today.